See this right here? See this? I got kicked by a horse. It was pretty traumatic. No, I'm just kidding. A kid kicked me while I was trying to help them get on a horse.
No one ever sees me, I'm losing every battle. No one ever sees me, I'm losing every battle. No one ever sees me, I'm losing every battle. Can somebody save me, save me?
Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to do another story time. And today I just wanted to talk about like my horse loving journey, like when it all started, how it progressed, up until the point that I ended up buying my first horse. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show because it ought to be interesting. So this journey begins at a very young age. I mean, as long as I can remember, I've loved all kinds of animals. Dogs, cats, any kind of animal you can imagine. I was just in love. That's just how I was. If there was a dog around, I was going to find it and pet it. If there was any kind of animal that I could pet or touch or be around, that was me. I was going to be around it. The thing is that as I started getting into animals, I realized that horses were pretty special to me. Like, I just had a certain like draw to horses, and that was seen throughout my childhood. If we went to a fair, I was gonna ride the pony ride, you know. If I had a birthday party, we were gonna go to a horse barn, and I can't tell you how many horse barn parties I had tons of them. And if we went on a field trip to a barn, like if there was a horse, I was going to go straight towards it, and I was good, like, but that was just my thing. I loved horses, loved being around them. Anywhere I could do, I did. So at about the age of 6, I had finally convinced my mother that I really wanted to start horseback lessons. And that was a big deal for me. I had already shown like a lot of interest in horses, so it wasn't really like surprising, but she wanted to make sure before she started spending money on this that I was actually interested in it. So we started looking around, and there was a place close by. It was actually a summer camp that on the off season they taught actual lessons. And so this summer camp, we went there and we were trying to see if I could go ahead and start taking lessons. Unfortunately, they said you have to be 7 to start taking lessons here. So me, being 6 years old, being like depressed because I was like so close, was kind of feeling like, oh great, maybe that's how all the places are. But we looked around a little bit more and ended up finding a new barn where they said, yes, we will teach your 6-year-old daughter how to ride a horse. And that's where my journey with riding began. So the first horse that I ever had lessons on was named Sport. And he was a paint, and I don't know if I can find the picture, but if I can, I'll put it up on the screen. If not, then I'm sorry. It's really sad, but he is this big paint horse, and little 6-year-old me is like standing in the arena with him, teeny tiny, just ready, you know. I was a very grown-up child. I was always like, okay, I'm ready to go, and I was ready to do what's next because everything is very serious and very important. Anyway, fast forward, I had a lot of great experiences there. I was pretty comfortable just walking the horse around and telling it where to go. Well, the one thing that I had to get over was my fear of trotting. Yes, I was scared to death to trot, didn't want to do it, almost cried a few times when they told me I had to, did not want to do it. And finally, my first trainer ever convinced me. She was like, you can do it. I believe in you. You just need to do it. So I did it, and I started smiling, and she looked at me and goes, oh, look at that smile. And I just wanted to, like, you know, be like, whatever, smile. Because, you know, I was a smart aleck. Anyway, so fast forward, I probably was there a little over a year, and I was finally over 7 when we actually went back to the summer camp that we had seen before. I think And I don't remember exactly why we left the place that I was at, but I have a feeling it had something to do with not being able to take lessons there anymore because of my trainer not doing lessons. But we ended up going back to the place that we had tried before. So this entire time, I am learning as a 6-year-old throughout how to ride English. That's where I started. It wasn't necessarily my choice. I really didn't have a thought process on what I wanted to learn. I just wanted to ride. I didn't care what kind of saddle it was. Just get me on the horse. So we ended up going to this summer camp, and I got a lot of experience there. I was there for quite a long time. It's the first place that a horse jumped with me on it, and that was not intentional at all. We were going over a ground pole, and the mare decided that she was just going to hop on over it, and that scared me to death. But actually, it was kind of exciting at the same time, and she was really good, so I didn't hold it against her. It's also a place where I had my very first big scare with horses, and this happened on a paint, and his name was Skylar. And, well, the thing about this camp is that it's a summer camp. So in the summertime, they would take kids on trail rides up through the mountains. They were like right up against a mountain. And that's where the trails were, up in the forest, up in the mountains. And I didn't mind the trail rides. I liked the trail rides, but, you know, we're on trail horses. So yes, they were lesson horses, but at the same time, they were a bunch of trail horses. So during the summer, they ran the same routine every single week during the summer. And, you know, a lot of times if you don't train them outside of that, they can be a little bit stubborn. Anyway, so we're going up this trail, and for some reason, I got put in a class with a bunch of older kids. And they were all way more experienced than me. They all were trotting, cantering, doing all kinds of stuff that I just wasn't ready to do. Well, we went on this trail ride, all of us, and they wanted to run up this hill. They thought it was fun. They wanted to do it, and I was scared to death. I was like, I'm not ready for this. I hadn't even learned to canter yet. I was still only at the trotting level, and I don't know, I guess they were just trying to make sure that I was good and controlled with my horse before they taught me to canter, whatever. Anyway, so we go up this hill. Well, they go first. To keep my horse from running, my instructor told me to turn around. So I'm sitting there with my horse facing downwards, and as soon as they're up the hill, she tells me to turn around. Well, if you are around any kind of horse that goes up and down hills or is a very trail oriented, they really do trails a lot and they like to stick together or they like to be up front, you will know that 7.5, 8-year-old, I don't even remember how old I was, I just was young, me, who did not have that much experience on horses, ended up in some serious trouble. I turn around, and it wasn't a very gentle turnaround. He knew that I was turning him around, and he got excited. So guess what he did? He ran straight up the hill. And all I remember doing is screaming as I was running up the hill. Screaming at the top of my lungs. I get to the top of the hill and I am crying because it was super scary. And the thing is, it's not just a hill and there are trees on both sides and we're just running up a hill. Oh, no. There were trees on one side and then there was a drop off on the other side. So you're imagining that this little kid who is not good at controlling horses yet thought that they were probably going to plummet off the mountain because that's what I thought I was going to do. Anyway, I get up to the top, and my trainer was not very, comforting. She told me that I didn't need to scream, that was the wrong thing to do, and it just was very sad. And I just remember the whole rest of the way, I ended up riding right behind her, which at first I was at the back of the line, and was scared to death the rest of the ride. And from that point, for a long time, I never wanted to go on a trail ride. I would do it, but I told them I'm not riding the paint horse. So I ended up riding different horses, but even then it was still scary for me, and I had to face a lot of fears to go up and down the trail, as scary as it was. it was really a point in my life and in my horse journey where I could have really gone either way. I could have decided, okay, this is scary and I don't like it anymore and I'm done doing it. Like, I can just enjoy horses from the ground because this scared the crap out of me. But instead, I loved doing all of the rest of it so much that that one little thing just didn't scare me enough to get me off horses. So, continue a little while later, and this perfect, I swear to you, it's God's timing, because it really was, I was just not super confident. And I hadn't regained that confidence since the little outburst, and I was always scared to death that something was going to happen, even if we weren't on the trail ride. And this little pony showed up, this little gray pony, and he was so cute. And it's so funny because I remember him very clearly, but I cannot remember his name. Now, I was very young, so naturally it's hard to remember some of their names. But all I remember was we had a super close connection. And I just remember I was pretty much assigned to him from then on, once he came around. He was super cute. I could get on him by myself. I could tack him by myself. I could brush him by myself. And it just made me feel confident. So I was able to ride him in the arena and ride him on trails. And honestly, I just remember that that was the first time since the runoff with Skylar that I had felt safe and confident on the trails. I really think that it was God's timing sending me that little pony to make me feel better. Anyway, so I rode him for quite a while and then found out that they were going to have to sell him. And the reason being was because he wasn't getting along with all the other horses. Not only was he smaller than everybody else, but he also was the only gray. They made it seem like it was impossible because he was a different color and didn't have anybody to click with, that he just didn't get along. Whatever. I was young. I don't know. This is just what I was told. So anyway, I really wanted to buy him. I was like, this pony is perfect for me. He's so good with me. I love him. Like, I have to have him. But unfortunately, at the time, we were just not in a place to buy a pony. My parents knew nothing about horses. I didn't really know that much about horses. I just knew I wanted this pony. I was ready to put him in the backyard. But anyway, he left, and we ended up continuing lessons at this place, and then ended up even riding the biggest horse in the entire barn, which was quite a switch up. But at that point, I was so much more confident. I had started learning cantering with this giant horse. So it really was good. Like, he left, and I was able not to be put on a crutch of this little pony that was basically babysitting me. Finally, I ended up leaving that place. I had been there for years, and I was ready to move on. I think they were starting to do less and less lessons, and they were doing some more programs for camps and stuff. Anyway, I don't know. Still young. Not too young, but I was still kind of young. And so I ended up taking a break from lessons altogether. Well, after a couple years of taking breaks, I decided I wanted to get back into it, and I ended up, it was only like 2 years that I didn't ride from being 6. From 6 years old, I rode, took a 2-year break, and then found a barn like 5 minutes from my house, which was awesome. And this was the first place that I decided, you know what, I'm going to try Western riding. And so began my Western riding days. And my new trainer was awesome, loved her a lot. She was loud, and she was very outspoken, which is great. It really helped me as far as like developing. I was still developing. I wasn't a teenager yet. I was still a kid. And so I was able to learn a lot from her and how to handle people that were very loud and open and still be confident and not be intimidated. But I was able to learn how to take criticism as well. Not bad criticism, just criticism. And being blunt. And it was great. Honestly, I wouldn't trade it for the world. I think that it was perfect for me because I can be a little sassy and stubborn, so it worked out. And that's where I was. And so for months, at that point, I was actively looking for a horse. And what had happened was I was scared to death that I was going to go through my childhood, go through my teenage years, and not have a horse, And I was going to be an adult before I got a horse. And for me, that just wasn't happening. So I ended up praying specifically for a horse before I turned 13, before I was a teenager. And so while I was at this new barn, we ended up 5 days before my 13th birthday finding Buddy. And I bought him 5 days before my 13th birthday. And it was great. And I was so excited. And then began an entirely different journey of owning a horse. And I've learned so much. It's been great. I still have a lot to learn. But yeah, that's my story. And obviously, you know, there's a lot of things that went on in between. There's a lot of things that I did. I rode, you know, at different places, not lesson-wise, just riding. But I was finally a horse owner. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed listening to my long story about my horsiness, and I hope you enjoyed listening to my blabbering about horsiness. I think I already said that, but anyway, obviously I don't know what to say anymore, and it's time for me to skirt out. Please like, share, subscribe, comment. Don't forget, be brave, be brave. I'll see you next time, guys. Also, one more thing, I actually have a Patreon account now, so if you will look down in the description below, if you want to support, great, do it. If not, no big deal. I just like entertaining people, but, you know, it helps feed the horses and pay for props that I use on the videos. Anyway, I'll see you later, guys.